City's now open. In compliance of the Freedom Act, notice of the meeting was submitted on the fax to Spartanburg Area Building, posted on the bulletin board on the line of the town hall. At this time, we have our invocation by the chaplain. Next statement, please.
Let us pray. Father God, Lord, we first want to come to you tonight for our mayor, Lord. Lord God, he is having so much trouble with his surgery, Lord God, and had to have re-surgery because of the restless leg syndrome that he has. Father, so Lord God, we ask you first and foremost, Lord, to reach down and to touch his body, Lord, to heal his body tonight, Father, to touch our mayor from the top of his head to the soles of his feet and give him that complete healing that he so needs tonight, Father. Now, Lord, we come to you for the council, our council meeting tonight, Father. We're asking you tonight indeed, Lord, to give them the wisdom and the knowledge to lead our town, Father, to lead it the way that you would have it to be led, Lord, and that you would just touch each council member tonight, Father, our administrator, Lord, and Lord God, that they would just move and minister through this council meeting tonight, God, that you would just touch them and move on us, Father, and for the needs request. Indeed, God, there are so many that were spoken and unspoken throughout our community tonight, Father, so we're asking, oh God, for the storehouse of heaven, Father, to open up and shower down blessings, even the desires of our heart, Father, tonight, Lord, like never before. And Lord, we give you the praise and glory for it all and through it all. It's in Jesus' name we pray, and amen.
This time we have our resolution.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This time we have our citizen comment from Mrs. Christine Le Clair.
Good evening. So my name is Christine Le Clair, and we just launched Vintage View Adventures, which is a kayak outfitter, part of our business that happens here in Pacolet. Last weekend, we were across the road there at the fishing piers. We had a nice little group on Memorial Day. Saturday and Sunday were a bit dicey as the weather was bad, but we're really excited to be here. So I wanted to introduce myself as a new part of the community, and also see if we request. I met with the town administrator a few weeks ago and see if we could get porta-potties at the fishing area over across the way. All our groups meet here in Pacolet. They all start here and end here. We take them up either to Clifton Beach or to where Lawson's Fork Creek spits into the Pacolet. So it's either an 8-mile or a 4-mile trip. And I know that as we've been doing lots of trips on the river, it'd be a really nice addition to that area. So that's what I'm here. I wanted to just introduce myself and see if there was anything that the town council might be able to do about porta potties, since the bathrooms over there are not in the best of shape. So, any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. At this time, we have the approval of the minutes for April 6th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for April 6th.
I'll second.
Second that, the minutes be approved, there is a discussion. All in favor? Okay, next one is, April the 13th, approval of the minutes for April 13th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for April 13th.
Second.
Second, April 13th is approved. Is there any discussion? Yes, thank you. The next one is April 19th.
Make a motion to approve April 19th minutes.
April 2nd is approved. April 13th, is there any discussion? If no, you understand. May the 11th
Make a motion to approve May 11th minutes.
Second, May 11th is be approved. Is there any discussion? Michelle? Okay, on May the 18th.
I make a motion to approve May 18th minutes.
Second, May 13th minutes be approved. Is there any discussion? Thank you. Number 7, we go to the executive session regarding negotiation.
I make a motion to go to executive session.
So we move second, we go to the negotiation session.
Who seconded? I'll second.
Our discussion was done in our executive session, so we continue our meeting.
If council would permit me, I'd like to introduce Marcy, who is the auditor that was working with McKinley Cooper and Company LLC on the town of Pacolet, South Carolina audited financial statements for a year ended this June 30th, 2022. You all have a copy, and Marcy can come and review them.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcy Louts, and I'm with McKinley Cooper and Company in Greenville. We performed the audit for the town of Pacolet for the year ended June 30th, 2022. And if it's all right, I'm just going to hit some highlights. I mean, I can talk as long as you want me to, but I'm going to hit some highlights, some important things that I would like to just kind of point out to you. And if you have questions, feel free to ask, or reach out to me later. I'm always here to welcome questions. So without further ado, you have a great, I really enjoyed meeting Patrick. Like, I can tell he's very eager, and of course Tony's great. I have to say that. I feel like this accounting is always underappreciated, but she does do a good job. She's very thorough and cares. I think she's generally cares, so I always like to point that out. So you have a good team. So without further ado, the first page that you'll see is our independent auditor's report. To me as an auditor, this is the most important report in the audit. And basically all this is saying is that we have audited the accompanying financial statements for the year ended, that in our opinion, they are fairly presented in all material respects. So in layman's terms, that we issued a clean opinion, or what we call a non-modified opinion. So you've got a good, clean opinion. Doesn't say it that easy, but that's what that paragraph is telling you. So we're saying they're fairly presented. The basis for our opinion is that we're independent. So y'all know we're independent, and that we apply our principles and procedures. So our responsibility is to form an opinion, and y'all's as management is for the preparation and fair presentation. You know, so if that makes sense. I feel like everybody else's auditor is supposed to be the miracle workers, but you know. So, and the rest of it is just kind of standard verbiage, but basically it's just saying like, there's a lot of supplemental schedules that we aren't forming an opinion on, but we check it and stuff like that. So, so y'all got a good clean opinion, that's the most important thing. The next pages 4 through 7 are the management's discussion and analysis. We don't form an opinion on this. This is for management, but to me, like as a user of these financials, if you're gonna read anything, at least read these pages. To me, they're most user friendly, gives you, hits highlights, a lot of current year, prior year comparisons. So I always just recommend that. I'm not gonna go through it all, but. So without further ado, on page 8, this is the town's statement of net position, also your balance sheet. And without getting into accounting 101, governmental accounting, there's 2 sets of financials in here. Let's see for that. Oh, page 8, statement of net position. We're looking at the same one.
Okay.
I'm like, oh God, I just had a heart attack. I was like, did I get the wrong thing? So page 8 is called statement of net position, which is also your balance sheet. These next two statements I'm discussing, this is full accrual. So full accrual means it's got your debt, fixed assets, everything on it, because there's also fund accounting. So I'm gonna focus more on this like we're comparing it like it's a business. So your, for June 30th, 2022, your total assets and deferred outflows of resources were 4.2 million. Your liabilities and deferred inflows were 1 million, which left you with a positive net position, or a positive, or takes you to a positive. Your assets minus your liabilities were 3.1 million. Now, I always like to remind y'all that GASB 68 is included in this 3.1 million net position, and GASB 68 is the retirement, the state retirement. So just to remind y'all, we are required there, if you look under liabilities, there's a net pension liability. You'll see a liability of almost 700,000. You can't pay it down. You're legally required to make the retirement contributions on behalf of your employees, but the state is making us report this underfunded based on actuarial result. You know, if everybody retires today, how much y'all are underfunded. It's just, so we're required to put it on there. So I always like to back it out and tell you what the true picture is. So if we back that out, that retirement liability affected your bottom line by $595,000. So, and that's nothing, you can't pay it down, you can't do anything. So if I back that out, your true unrestricted net position is, rather than the 636, is 1.2 million. And what that makes up, that 1.2 million actually will cover a year's worth of your budgeted expenses. So I kind of like to put it, so you've got that cushion, and so if something happens, you still got that cushion to meet your budget. Purchase this year, you purchased $114,000 in fixed assets, and most of it was the police. I know there were some new vehicles. You also paid off debt at $49,000 too. I like to say that there's not a lot of debt. So basically, what I'm saying is that you've got a good positive, unrestricted. We like to see unrestricted because the rest of it is not spendable. And I see a lot of towns and cities that when I put that retirement in there, they go negative. So you're, you know, that to me shows you somebody's budgeting, somebody's paying attention to the budget, which is the goal. You're utilizing taxpayer dollars. Page 9 is the statement of activities, which is also an income statement, profit and loss. And I'll summarize this. I don't think it's very user-friendly, but for the year ended June 30th, 2022, you had total revenues of $2.365 million, total expenses of $2 million, which left you with a positive change in that position. So you basically an income. You had your revenues were more than your expenses of $372,000. Which compared to the year before was only $17,000. So y'all went from $17,000 to $372,000. Now the biggest reason for that is the grants. That has kind of been a good year because everybody's getting all this free money, if you will, like it's the ARPA funds. You know, I shouldn't say free money, but so that's the biggest changes. The biggest changes, like your revenues went up, but it was due to grants. So that's the biggest, easiest thing. I don't know if you want me to elaborate on that anymore, or you know, have any differences, but I'm sure y'all are aware of all the grants. So it's good y'all are utilizing that money. So revenues were up 87%, expenses were up 60%. So we expect that. So if there are any questions on that? I'd also like to talk about on page 10, this is your balance sheet, and it's modified accrual, but this is more of what you're used to on a monthly, like with the financials y'all see is more along this lines. So basically, at the end of the year, you had 1.3 million in your fund balance. 10% of it is restricted. So 10% of it is restricted for victims assistant, law enforcement. So that means it's got to be spent on certain things. 90% is unassigned. So I always like to point out, unassigned is great. We like to see that. To me, that shows you can make payroll, you can pay your liabilities and things like that. So, and that also is 99% of your annual budgeted expenses. So you know, that's the goal. You gotta spend it. You know, you want to utilize it, but you always gotta have a little bit for a rainy day. So at least you know you've got a little bit of wiggle room. It's all that hard work paid off. I'm not gonna go through all the rest of it. Pages 15 through 32 are the notes. I'm not gonna go through all those either, but I always recommend you read them at your leisure. This will, anything on the balance sheet, this should explain it, and it gives you more detail of what is in the front. It should give you more breakout, like your accounting policy, your principles, and all that good stuff. So, I think 10 pages is just the retirement footnote. So, and then the remainder of it is just our required supplementary information. It's got more of a detailed budget to actual things like that. So, I didn't information. I feel like I lost everybody. Crickets. Anybody have questions, or would you like me to elaborate on anything? I mean, it's good there's no surprises, so. Y'all already read it and this answered all your questions, right? Okay, any questions? That's it. Good. Well, thank y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Section A on here on old business, consider on first reading to approve text amendment zoning ordinance 36D1 revised to any lounge shall be located at least 300 linear feet from, and striking out the section for residential zoning district, hospital, public or private elementary, junior high or high school facility, church, or other house of worship facility.
This is the one we tabled.
This is the one that has been taken, that's correct. And we were waiting for Mr. Berry, and Mr. Berry no longer works for RCI. I do have Brian Blackwell here. He may or may not have some notes from that. If you'd like for him to come up and make a discussion of that.
Can we have him kind of go through A through E maybe? Briefly?
I will ask him to go through A through E. He's got some notes from Mr. Berry. Keep in mind, he is not Mr. Berry, but we'll have him come up and see if there's any discussion on that.
Good evening, council. Yeah, to my knowledge, these have all been received by the planning commission and received a favorable vote. And now they're, of course, brought to you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Patrick read is a text amendment to the zoning ordinance to revise and strike out the word residential and zoning district. Or any, let's take them one by one if we could, or any questions on that?
So one of the issues that I had with this, when we first talked about it, is there was no application for these text amendments to be made. It was just what Michael Berry referred to as staff came up with these amendments, changes, and then that was brought to the planning commission. And our ordinances state that the council, the planning commission, or by application can this be changed. At no point in time does staff or public citizens decide, and then it's written, and then the planning commission votes on it. It's done improperly. When I asked him for an application, there was no application. So my concern is this opens us up to liability. You know, if it's not handled by what our ordinances say, I don't think we should vote on it, period. I think, you know, from what I understand, the property is owned by an individual, and I think the easiest manner should have been just a variance, you know, at the appeals board, instead of changing the zoning for the entire districts.
What property? This refers to the entire town. This levels the playing field for everybody. You're talking about a specific property.
Yeah, so I would ask that this is a conflict of interest for you, because you've already admitted that this was a conversation you had with Mr. Berry about wanting to rezone your property. So
There's no rezoning here.
this text amendment basically changes the zoning.
Right, for the whole town. It's not about my property. I could have, Councilman Wright's referring to my desire last year to bring in an additional business to the town that served alcohol. I didn't want to get a variance just for my property. I saw a need for the whole town to benefit from an updated ordinance. That was my desire. That the whole town benefits. And the planning commission, which are citizens appointed by us, agreed unanimously that this was something they wanted.
And the planning commission had not reviewed the comprehensive plan or master plan. They have no, by state law, it has to be reviewed prior to making any text amendment changes.
Can we, you have the state law?
You pull it up.
Yep.
I thought we had talked about holding off on this due to the upcoming comprehensive.
I mean, that's a lot of my
It's kind of
concern
putting
too.
a horse,
We're going to change,
cart for a horse.
we're going to potentially change the zoning amendments, and right after we agree to pay somebody to do the comprehensive master plan.
I don't see how this is tied to that directly. I mean, they've been working on this for 6 months now. I believe it started in January, at least attempted. They had some issues with meeting notices. It's obviously something the town wants, and I hope the town gets. I'd like the town to be open for business, more businesses. I'd like to pave the way for business people, entrepreneurs, investors to know that the legwork's been done. They don't have to come in, jump through hoops, apply for variances, hope for a favorable vote. It's already done.
I understand what you're saying.
But you're trying to attach this to me specifically and property. This is not specific to any property. This is for everybody. This is to benefit the entire town, anyone with commercial property.
Yes, but it also affects the residences next to the districts. Every residence that's connected to one of these districts.
That's
They now
attached to
have
a commercial
law
district.
beside us.
Right, it's a commercial district. Our commercial district is already so small. If we start cutting out large chunks that businesses can't, I mean, if you buy a home directly next to a commercial district, you run that risk that, I mean, a gas station could go in next door. That would be worse, in my opinion, than a wine bar.
So the state law, section 6-29-720, all zoning ordinances and amendments must conform to the comprehensive plan. 6-29-510E, planning process elements comprehensive plan. The local planning commission shall review the comprehensive plan elements of it as often as necessary, but not less than once every 5 years, to determine whether changes in the amount, kind, or direction of development of the area or other regions make it desirable to make additions or amendments to the plan. The comprehensive plan, including all elements of it, must be updated at least every 10 years.
Right, and we're, what, 4 years late? Has it been 14 years? Yeah.
The last,
We're,
the last comprehensive plan was done in 99.
oh wow, so we're 24 years late. We have and that's not enough time to update the plan? I mean, we're 24 years late, in my opinion, on this. These are standard amenities that every town has, except us, apparently. And I called you and asked you specifically if this is something you would support, and you thought it was a good idea, and you said, yep, absolutely.
You asked me about, you called me and asked me about whether or not the council would support you having more.
No, I
Not
asked,
changing the zoning of the entire district.
no, it's always been about this. It's never been about me and my desires. It's been about, I'm willing to do it and bring the business to town as I've proven, but I want the playing field to be level. I don't want to be on council getting variances. I can't go that route. I decided to go the route where everyone's benefiting. Any businessman, any commercial property can benefit from this.
I understand.
And I always presented it that way.
I understand, but the problem is that only the council, the planning commission, or by application, any correspondence outside of an application by a citizen or a council member is mere communication. It's nothing. It means nothing until an application is filed.
These applications don't exist. Do we even have the application? Have we had to create it? So you're at the planning commission. I believe Michael Berry worked on this with the planning commission. They came up with this. I had no say in the wording or how it was going to be adjusted. I just said, it's unfortunate that we can't open these types of businesses. And he said, I'll talk to the planning commission. So for them to fill out an application that then they review is ridiculous. It's like an employer putting out for a job, him filling out the application himself and then hiring himself. Why would they do that? It was unanimous.
And it was done improperly.
I disagree.
I
We don't have these applications. Did you have
We did not at the time.
Well, that's good that this has created the
I
application.
think there was a property that actually did fill out an application for this zoning change.
Right, that's a zoning change. This is not a zoning change.
It's a text amendment,
Right.
right?
He wants to change from, I think, residential to urban center. You're talking about item E? Yeah. This is not.
Text amendment is That's a text
Right,
amendment.
but that's changing actual zoning. We're not changing zoning. Zoning is always, is only applies to the,
Zoning is the entire thing. It's zoning ordinance.
we're not changing it from residential to urban center or vice versa. It's staying, it only applies to commercial property, I believe.
Mr. Pitt.
Just for clarification, from my understanding on here, for chapter 20 amendments, section 3, procedures for amendments, subsection A, initiation of amendments, a proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance may be initiated by the town council, the planning commission, or by application filed with the zoning administrator. It looks like that the application is only done when it's set up by the proposed property owner. But if the town council or planning commission ends up initiating it, then it would not need an application.
I agree. Mr. Berry stated to me after the planning commission, when they unanimously voted for this, that staff wanted this. Not the planning commission, not town council, or not an individual. He said staff. And I asked him who staff was. And he said some citizens volunteered. The town council, the planning commission, or by application did not happen.
So because he said staff, that's the only issue? I mean, I don't, maybe he spoke out of turn, but, because he said staff. I mean, it was the planning commission that,
I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I could read this to say that staff can make a recommendation to the planning commission, and then once the planning commission takes it on and votes unanimous, at that point, they are recommending it, and it goes beyond that.
What do you mean? Staff meaning who?
Staff meaning either myself or the zoning administrator could make a recommendation, hey, this has come up, is this something that y'all want to add on there?
Right, this has came up through conversation from an individual, right? That's how it comes up. That individual should file an application.
That's one of three ways to do it. And would you not agree that once the planning commission approves it unanimously and recommends it to council, that that is them starting the process?
I mean, you did just say that the applications didn't even exist. I mean, you don't have a problem with this change, that you just wanted an application filled out? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think it was handled inappropriately. You yourself stated that you had a conversation with Michael Berry, and that's how this started. At a council meeting, you said this, at the council meeting, that you had a conversation with him about your property. You wanted to have a bar, and the zoning would not allow it.
Right.
That's how it started.
Okay.
Okay, at that point,
He came
you
to
should
me
have,
to
you should have
expect-
looked at the ordinances. He should have said, oh, you need to file an application. And started that.
The application doesn't exist.
Doesn't matter. He was the zoning administrator appointed by Mr. K. And
Thing
because
is-
he's the zoning administrator, he should have followed the ordinances.
I did not ask him to make these changes. I merely said, this is what I would like to do. He said, you can't. I said, that's unfortunate. I wish the town was allowed to have these businesses. He then, at a planning commission meeting, came up with this. I didn't say, change this, cross out this text, change this. He came to me and shot down what I wanted to do, and I said, that sucks.
And then he went to the planning commission to make a change.
Well, they have meetings planned,
So
yeah.
the whole thing started from a conversation, which is exactly what our ordinances say. The conversations are just that. They're nothing more than that until an
You
application.
just wanted the application filled out.
It need to be handled correctly.
Let's have a discussion on, hey, let's go on past that, and we come back, that's what we, to make it continue this.
Item B is like attached to this, it's similar, same issue. It's a text amendment on the same issue.
All the rest of the same.
A and B are at least,
We go to the next meeting.
C.
I'm not comfortable with changing any of the text amendments until we get a new comprehensive plan. I mean, that's what we
Well,
agreed
the first
on.
thing any plan is gonna do is say, yeah, you need to allow businesses that can serve alcohol. You know they're gonna say that.
I don't
And
know.
even if they don't, we don't need a firm to tell us that we need to be more business friendly.
Then why even be paying money we're about to pay for a comprehensive?
Well, they're gonna do more than just address this issue.
Well, I think we should leave it open.
Let's pass on that, and go to the next one.
Which one are we moving to?
C and B.
Which one?
Okay. Consider on first reading to approve the text amendment to allow vehicle or heavy equipment sales within a urban center, designated a UC in our zoning ordinance, table 3.3.
I make a motion that we we approve item 9C.
Second. Maybe second.
B, consider on first reading the text addition, zoning ordinance. 6A, vehicle heavy equipment sales. 1, no two vehicles and/or heavy equipment sales shall be located within 2,000 linear feet of each other as measured by straight lines to nearest property line. All vehicle heavy equipment items for sale shall be operable and for sale. No additional storage of inoperable vehicles is allowed. Hours of operation shall be limited to between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Is this actually attached to C? If C doesn't pass, these are conditions for the allowing of vehicle sales?
Yes, that's the way I understand it, sir.
Okay. There's also E then attached to that.
Correct.
So there's a gentleman that's trying to
Yes.
open car sales a lot. So these three, C, D, and E, are required for that. It looks like we're shooting down his business there, so I don't know if D and E apply. I wish they did. Is that your understanding of it?
I thought so.
Yeah, it's my understanding that all three of those have to pass for this business to be able to open up.
E there, I'll show you where.
I think this would have been a lot simpler, just with a variance to the appeals court. It's one single property, but we're talking about extending the urban center to it, we're doing a lot of, I think it'd be a lot simpler just to do a variance. I think Mr. Berry should have, helped with that, made it a lot simpler. Changing text amendments and things, you can just do a variance, it's very simple.
I think the desire here is to, again, pave the way for businesses, not just, at least that was mine. This gentleman, I don't know him personally. He wanted to operate in a building that was historically commercial, obviously commercial building. So rezoning it to urban center made sense. I can't speak for, should go the variance route. In the case of A and B, again, it's about benefiting the entire town, giving the entire town the opportunity. Even the cloth room here would benefit, it would open up opportunities if an investor was to put something in there with alcohol service, they wouldn't have to go through that. The way would be paved, and I think that's important. That puts up a sign to everyone that Pacolet's open for business. Instead of having every individual jump through the various hoops. Did you have something?
Yeah, just a quick comment on here, is that I agree, I'm not a big fan of spot zoning at all. But the only thing about this particular property, so people in here in the public kind of understand, it's the old satellite depot. And it's a building that's not a house, it's not something that would typically be in a residential area. And that's the reason, in this case, I could see a case for spot zoning, but I also could see variance on there as well.
It's not an urban district, the urban district spot is right there in EMS, but there's a gas station in between the two buildings. And there has to be a reason why the urban district didn't extend to that a long time ago. All I want is that we review the plan before we make these decisions. I just think it's important. I do not want to hold back the business from starting. That's the last thing I want to do. But I think it's essential that we review these things before we make decisions on this. And spot zoning isn't a good idea, but that building is a commercial building. It should have already been zoned appropriately a long time ago. I would have never imagined it wasn't.
Why don't we fix that right now?
Just one question, and I'm not sure if this is the time to have this conversation or not, but I know y'all brought up the idea that we don't want to change anything until we've done the comprehensive plan. The only concern I have with that is that the comprehensive plan, based on the schedule, is not set to be done until March of next year. I didn't know if you want to set yourself up to be in a situation where nothing can be changed for that long a period of time, or not. I just want to remind you that the comprehensive plan won't be done until March, I believe, of next year.
I think it's appropriate that if businesses want to come here, that's why we have appeals board. They can easily go there, ask for a variance. When the the comprehensive plan comes out, we can restructure at that point. You know, I think to me, that's the best way to go about it.
For us to wait 24 years and then say we still need another 10 months just seems silly to me. I mean, we're so late, and then on the master plan, we haven't cared, we're 14 years late on the master plan, and then to say we need a master plan, just seems like we're not getting anything done. Clearly the public wants this, they've voiced that with a unanimous vote on it. I mean, the public's sick of waiting on us to.
Now, when you say public, you mean the board? Because, I mean, from my public, I've gotten different opinions than that.
The board's made up with public and with it being unanimous. And
Okay,
we'll
well,
see. No,
it's not public.
no, nothing's 100%, everyone agrees. There's people in this room that disagree. I'm speaking generally. Based on a unanimous vote, I think it's safe to say that.
Is it not already zoned for commercial? Is it?
It's not, it should be.
Where the flower shop used to be?
Right.
Tony?
It is a
On
commercial.
number 9?
Yeah, it's at the
You know what the
center.
gas station is?
Yeah, the white building.
White building.
It's got a parking lot, it's clearly commercial. It's zoned residential.
It's been used many times
Yeah.
over the years. I never would have imagined it was not commercial use.
So
Is
we have
it
the
our
opportunity.
understanding that if it's zoned residential and they want to use it as commercial, they can approach or apply to have it, a variance for commercial? Because I remember having to do that. So, it's the same thing.
Same process, yeah.
The only problem there is if we ignore these other items, they still can't open their car lot.
And with the variance would be for what they,
So what do you need? It looks like you need 3 variances to get this done.
You could do, my understanding, you do one variance to
cover all.
cover the whole thing on there. And
That's something that zoning administrator or Mr. K can help the individual with.
correct me if I'm wrong, the change that's being requested will be more permanent than I'm not sure if the variance only goes with the property owner of that particular business.
It only goes with the property owner at that time.
And so if it's sold or changed method, it's got to be renewed, and if not, it reverts back.
So my other question is, if we ever decide to change any of this, is this opening the town up for businesses to be put anywhere or just in certain locations?
It's all restricted to commercial zoning areas. It's not, they're not going into residential zoning. What this allows is that we can use all of our urban center commercial zoning versus now you have to be 300 feet in. And in addition to that, we have some residences inside our commercial zoning. You have to be 200 feet from that. So we've got tiny little areas of our commercial zoning that can actually be used for an alcohol service business. Because we have so much residential homes actually scattered through our commercial area, and our commercial area is so small, it makes it almost restrict. I mean, there might be one property in town, maybe the gas station. For example, the plaza, the only plaza that I think we have, or at least the biggest one where Dollar General is, there's vacancies in there. None of those businesses could ever, it's clearly a business area. None of them could have a business that primarily served alcohol because of their proximity to residential zoning. There's plenty of examples of very clearly commercial areas that are restricted. It's very restricted. Again, even the cloth room.
Ms. Kate,
I just wanted, so if y'all don't mind, the property is currently in what's called neighborhood general. And I was gonna let you know the commercial uses that are available currently for that property right now. There's what's permitted uses and then conditional uses, meaning there's conditions that make it okay. An ATM can be there, a bank, credit union, financial service can be there, child adult daycare can be there with less than 6 persons. Government services, post office, conditional use is gas station, recreation facilities outdoors is a permitted use, a cemetery, conditional use is a college university, permitted use public safety station, religious institution, conditional use is a school, and then for conditional uses, there's recycling collection center, utilities class 1, temporary outdoor sales of seasonal agricultural products, temporary uses of structures, and keeping of large animals. It looks as if it could not be a satellite depot based on the zoning that's out there.
I'm sorry.
I still have another choice.
The owner for this property is here tonight. If you have any questions for the owner?
Any questions? Any questions?
Oh, no. Thank you, Mr. Butler. Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve 9A and B. Allow us to use all of our commercially zoned area. I could just do a variance if I want to do something, but I want the whole town to benefit from this.
Second.
I second.
Second.
That was already a dead motion.
No, I think we
I just said she would come back to it.
Put your vote.
The motion was made to approve this, no seconds.
No, that was E. Or no, I'm sorry, that was 9C. No motion was made on A or B until now.
So now we're going to do the one A and B.
And if, I'd rather just do this one at a time and not both of them at a time.
Okay. I make a motion to approve 9A.
I want to be clear on what I'm understanding. So this will only affect the properties that are commercial, that's zone commercial, but they're near residents, correct?
Correct.
You want it to be where it's given permission for those commercial properties near the residents to be able to do
Alcohol service.
alcohol service.
Still has to be 300 feet from a hospital, elementary, school, church, which is a state requirement, but not 300 feet from residential zoning, which, it still has to be a commercial zone.
And this is just for alcohol sales. This is the issue. with
It's correct.
Any lounge any lounge of any kind. On-site consumption. So lounge, is what they call it. So,
Describe.
without being 300 feet from a residential, strictly a residential zoning district from this means that if your house is on the border, right across the border into the commercial district, can be allowed.
Actually, what you're, I think is talking about is 9B. Because if it goes across the street and it's in a residential district, if 9B is not passed, then you wouldn't have that situation. This is if you.
Right. Right, it's still, if we pass 9A, you still have to be 200 feet from the level, which I think is also too restrictive. Again, our commercial district's very small, I think we should use all of it. If someone decides to live right next to the commercial district, I think that that's just a risk they run.
It's not that they choose to live there, it's some that's already living there, so they don't have a choice, right?
That's fair.
When it's changed,
That's
then
fair. And the term risk, I would use that.
So, I don't know about that one.
I suggest we just table this and bring it back to this meeting and do some more discussion on it. Everybody can understand what commercial, what there is.
I'm just concerned about the people that are already there. They don't have a choice. They're there. They've been there. And so if we approve these items, then we're gonna allow these things to happen. And we don't know, if the residents that are living there are the ones that really want this to happen. I mean, I understand what you're saying, you want growth and all, but I wouldn't want an establishment next to my residence serving alcohol that could potentially cause issues. I mean, that's just my personal opinion of it. So. Which I have lived places like that, and it brings trouble with it, so I don't know.
Was there a motion made to table?
There's a motion on the floor to approve it.
Can I get a motion on the floor?
Can I withdraw? I second it and I choose to withdraw. Can I do that?
withdraw your motion.
Yes.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, you made the motion to approve. If there's no second, it dies.
She made a second.
But she made a second.
I'd
Okay.
like to withdraw her motion.
If there's discussion and call the question,
I mean, I'm gonna leave my motion, to approve it up there, because I just want, the public to see that I'm trying, so if you guys don't second it, up to you.
I mean, essentially it dies. Yeah.
Basically.
Why don't we just bring this back and go another meeting and discuss it more with the council? Just okay for everybody. And that way, everybody have an understanding of what the motion should be and what, how much it should be. So we should stay this until later. Is that okay with the council?
Yeah, okay. Good, make a motion.
Okay, good motion.
She's gonna rescind that, she can rescind that.
Right.
Second.
Now, there's currently a motion on the table.
Good motion.
If there's no second, then it dies. Now, then if someone wants to make a motion to table, they can. If there's no motion, then we just move on.
Yeah, so if it's a dead motion, then we can just move on. We don't have to table anything else.
And next item is And this is all real, is that
Fee
what-
schedule.
Yeah, the fee schedule is 60.
Yeah, this is gonna be, number F. You got a copy. That's what's.
Okay.
It should be at the end of your packet.
All right, E, consider on first reading, I'm sorry, F, consider approving a fee schedule for zoning and planning.
Is this like a standard one you've seen in other municipalities?
I'll have to defer to that.
It's not.
Mr. Cadden, I didn't put this one together.
Do we have a copy?
Yes, it is.
That's- There's nothing unusual here, just.
The only thing that I saw that it doesn't, that I feel like there should be on here is a fee for having text amendments.
It's got for all the minutes, previous minutes. I make a motion we approve the fee schedule.
Second.
I think we need to, there should be a fee for text amendment changes.
But let me ask you, there's a section here for zoning compliance, where it says zoning map amendment request on there. Could it just be updated for just, zoning amendments are all $250?
Yeah.
And just add
Once it's
that on
clearly
there?
identified in this.
Now, just my suggestion on here is that you may want to set it up that council can waive that for themselves. Instead of, because if you're willing to have an amendment done from council's perspective, you end up paying yourself. Which is fine. You can pay it.
We take it out of general fund and put it in the zoning account. I think
Yeah.
we should be able to waive fees regardless. Council should be able to waive the fees.
And if you want, I can put together, in some states they have what's called the, and I can't think what it's called, but based on the amount of investment someone does, if you're gonna put in a $10 million project or a $50 million project, then at certain levels, we waive all of these fees, at certain levels, we waive all of those, and I can put something like that together if that's what you want.
I'd love to waive this gentleman's fees, who looks like he's gonna have to pay $300 just to get started, because he needs 3 variances, unless you said you could lump them together. Tony, did you say you could lump all 3 of these together?
For one variance.
One there, yeah.
You'd have the zoning variance appeal for $100.
I think it's appropriate to waive those fees. That's the course that generally would like to take.
We'll go back and continue.
So can we approve this with the minor modification, you're gonna make that one line item?
Well, what I just suggested here was where it says zoning map amendment request, that it could be zoning map and text amendment request, I mean, for any types of changes.
Let's just get something.
That way we go ahead and move forward, and if people want to make requests, we can go ahead and put it in place.
Simple change. It's on record, we can approve it as Second.
I make a motion to approve the fee schedule with modification.
You make a motion to amend it. Well, is that right?
Approve the amended version.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Approve the amended version.
Sorry.
Right.
I have a motion. You have a second?
So we move this second, any discussion? Not for sure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Next item, is town administration.
I was skipped. Two items to be skipped.
This is the consideration of the second reading of the ordinance authorizing and directing the town of Pacolet to enter into an intergovernmental agreement relating to South Carolina local revenue services to participate in one or more local revenue programs and execute and deliver one or more participant program supplements and other matters related to thereto. This comes from the municipal association. We've already had one reading in the past. This is just, from my understanding, a formality for us doing business with the municipal association in terms of local revenue service.
When did we do that first reading?
We did that first reading back in April, I believe.
March.
This
I think the
this is an ordinance that allows.
No, I know what it is. We did that first, what was the date? Was it May 11th? Or May 18th? Meeting? Was it you that amended that
It was the
agenda to add it? It's not the
Yeah,
first
it's
reading?
on the agenda to add it.
Which one was that?
At our last meeting, he amended the agenda to add it, but we adjourned too quickly to be able to get to it.
We did not vote on it? I thought we voted on it.
We did not get to it. Okay.
It's the, yeah, the first reading.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
second, moving second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Mr. Ray, did you have something else?
We still have item H here. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the highest bid to purchase this F-150.
You want to see the bid as well?
Which one is this?
Was it 55? It's item 9, H. South Spartanburg Fire District, I believe was the highest bidder
It was 55,000.
for 55,000. This has been on the agenda for a while.
What was the first bid?
I'm sorry?
What was the first bid?
Pacolet for, I think, 47.
No. We're looking for a second. Take the highest bidder.
Second.
Sorry.
Can we get a second? For the motion. Please be second for the motion.
Motion passes. I make a motion to so accept the bid from the Pacolet Fire Department.
I second that motion.
Second that we accept the discussion.
Are we going to lower bidder?
Excuse me.
Just wondering why. We're not a lower bidder.
me personally, I'll tell you my reason for it is, I felt as if we entered into negotiations with them several months ago. And during those negotiations, there was a second offer brought. We had already counter-offered and much discussion was had with the Pacolet Fire Department. I think this is good faith, and knowing that it's local, and it's the right hand town. I think we should support local. That's the thing.
Any other discussion? Mr. Mayor,
If you recall on the offer that was made by the Pacolet Fire Department at that time, the last line on there is, this was the final bid to be submitted by the fire department. Would you agree that you were, at that point, no longer in negotiations?
They're still gonna cost the taxpayers $8,000. I mean, I love our local guys, but it's gotta be a taxpayer's asset.
I second it, and I'm gonna tell you why. This is my thinking behind it. Because the Pacolet Fire Department was the first ones to leave the bid. And sometimes you're just gonna have to take a loss when I feel it's right that we support our own Pacolet Fire Department. That's my personal feeling. When it was discussed the last time and the other bid was brought in from the South Spartanburg Fire Department, I felt some kind of way about that with it being just last minute. And with the Pacolet Fire Department showing the most interest up front. And I mean, I understand it's $8,000, but sometimes you just have to do what's right. And I feel in my,
It was a grant purchase as well.
that it's just the right thing to do to support our own. And they offered the bid, they offered the money up. Nobody else was doing it, and I including these people came. And so that's why I'm choosing it. So, and I second it.
any other discussion? Show of hands.
All in favor?
All in favor?
So 3-1 and 1 abstention?
Yeah, we sought to recuse, because he's a member of the fire department.
I still have this thing.
Yeah, recuse and abstention.
Next will be, we have police chief.
Consider approving the call for the administrator and assistant town clerk to attend the small city summit on Thursday, July 27th. The cost on this is $40 per person. It's in Greenville, no hotel stay. We'd be taking my vehicle, there's no extra travel cost on there. So just $40 a person for the two of us to go. It's my intention, at least my thought on this, with the hiring of April Trammell as the assistant town clerk. We love Ms. Tony, but she's been here 49 years, and at some point, she's gonna retire. I mean, that's just facing facts. And so, my goal is to train Ms. April Trammell in that role when that time comes. And I think it'd be worthwhile to send her and myself down to this training with small towns. So the only people who can attend are communities of 3,000 people and less. So we'll be there with a bunch of other people just like us, learning from each other. So I think it's worthwhile for us both.
I motion to approve.
Thank you.
Chief? I was going to add to that, they have 2 law enforcement topics that are covered this year they typically don't cover, so I would like to be adding on that to attend as well.
Is that for the small city?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think we have some who would like to go to that training also.
Was there other people who want to go to the small city?
Right.
Okay.
I like to.
Okay. And I'm just going to let you know,
We don't have to.
No, if y'all want to go ahead, you go, you can. You don't, does need to be approved by council. Mine's just because of the fact that I'm currently on a no spending rule right now. The other thing, I was going to spoiler alert, at the 29th, I would like to also attend the rest of the week. I'm not asking for approval right now. I'm going to send you all a copy of the rest of it. The Municipal Association of South Carolina's annual meeting. I think it's worthwhile for all of y'all to attend if you can. It's $200 a person. I'll send out information about it. It's in Greenville, so it's very close. But I'll send that to you. So this is the 27th, it will be the 28th, 29th, and 30th, I believe, of July. I'll send you more information. So there's a motion, I believe it passed. So was there a final vote on
We
the,
didn't vote yet.
There's still, yeah, there's still a motion right now.
and we amended it to, add
How
two
many people?
for the police department, or just one?
I believe
Three.
we're approving police department and town hall. So you can go through
I abstained.
Okay, can I get a second?
it. You guys.
So you move the second that we do time. All in favor?
Next item on here is consider approving the purchase of a network for the police station and town hall. This is something that I've talked with you all about in the past. I have a quote from MC Sales, which is who we worked with in the past. Most of the stuff is for buying the equipment, and there's a small section on there for hardware. Any questions on this? You understand why we're having this done?
There's several quotes.
So you've got you have two quotes on here that is for town hall and for the police station.
Let's start with the first.
The first one is the police station.
For $1,722.
That's correct.
Second one says Pacolet Police also.
The second one should say Pacolet Town Hall at the top,
One for 2,483.
2,483.
So linking Pacolet Police Department with town hall.
It'll be linked, but one thing that I've emphasized on this is that the only people who have access to police are police. There needs to be some access so that our town clerk, who also works as the clerk of court, needs to be able to have access to it while she's here, to be able to access those files. But yes, and there's also situations in which I need to be able to send large files and large information to the police station, and this enables us to be able to take care of all that. It's also a prerequisite for us to be able to do camera systems.
What's the fourth one?
The third and fourth on there is one thing, it's cameras, but it's two different types of cameras. I had a quote on there for a company called Ubiquity or Unify, and that's the last one. It's more expensive. He was able to find a company called Lorex that gives the same quality cameras. Actually, some are better than the Unify, and a very user-friendly system to be able to use. One thing I want to be very clear on this, I was hoping to get the camera system for the police station in this quote. It is not there yet. This is just for town hall. This covers all the exterior as well as interior, and it also has I believe it's an 8 terabyte hard drive. So I've had an 8 terabyte hard drive that's about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of storage on there, 24/7 at 4K. The last thing you want to have happen is you've got a doorbell ring camera and you can't see the person that's on there. You're not going to have a situation with the 4K cameras in there.
So you approve of B, C, D, and E?
First off, we need approval for B, which would be the network and police station, and that would be for the 1,700 for, police station and the 2,400 for, town hall.
They would need to be separate.
We can do it separately.
Make a motion to approve item 10B.
The police station and the town hall is separate motions.
They can meet together, there's no reason for it to be separate, but if there's a,
Because they're different line items in the budget,
okay.
I think it's appropriate to separate.
You received a motion, Tom?
I make a motion to approve 10B Part 1, police station.
We second the approve the line item for C. Discussion. None, all in favor?
I make a motion that we approve the same thing for town hall.
Moving and second to approve line item D. Is there any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Item C is just the camera system for town hall. I was hoping to have the other one by this time. It was nothing against Mr. Hawes, personally. As soon as I have that, I'll bring that to y'all. I'm hoping at the 29th meeting to have that.
Is there a warranty follows all of this? There's a lot of labor, there's a lot of, equipment. There's a warranty coming with this?
I do know that on the Ubiquity stuff, there it is, especially if you buy it directly from them. I do not know on the Lorax, and I'm just telling this from personal information. I'd have to check with them to verify the warranty on there.
Yeah, I think even if it was a sales service that gave us a warranty, I think it's important to find out. This amount of money on a camera system, I would like to know how long it's going to last, or we want to do this again.
If y'all like to table it, and then at that point I can find out about warranty and the police station for the next meeting on the 29th.
What warranty would satisfy you? Can we just approve it, or, contingent it has a 5-year warranty? We have to track this out.
I just want to know that the installation, and the hardware has some kind of life expectancy. A year, 2 years, 5, doesn't matter. I'd hate for a month to go down, a month down the road, and the server isn't working.
I can't speak for them, but I would be extremely surprised if it doesn't have at least a 1-year warranty on any of this stuff.
So it's approved, if you find out it doesn't have a warranty, you can still choose not to go with it, right?
We need cameras. It's just-
I'm just saying.
If you wanted to, you could approve this contingent on there being at least a 1-year warranty on one of the units and the installation.
I'm not saying don't approve it, I just wanted to know if there was a warranty attached. I don't see anything other than a quote. No information on the equipment. I have no idea what I'm looking at, just see some numbers.
This is just for town hall, so.
What's that?
So let me say, going forward with any big purchases like this, regarding equipment or anything, just remember to ask if there's any warranties.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is just for town hall, we're not doing a police station at this time.
Unfortunately, I was not able to get the quote for the police station this time.
Make a motion that we approve the camera system for town hall.
Is there a contingency on there?
Contingent on there being like 1-year warranty. That's a network. That's a surveillance.
Ms. seconded, nine, C, approved, no discussion. No discussion was in favor.
Is that an abstention or is that, I didn't see your hand though, but I just want to make sure for the record.
Yeah,
Okay,
I was reading, sorry.
that's fine. I like people to read. Item D under new business. This is consider approving the purchase of AED equipment for the police station and town hall. Provided 3 quotes for you. If you have any questions, I will not be able to answer them for you, which is why Officer Chad Hensley is here, who has made the recommendation. He formerly was, I don't say formerly, I think he probably still is, a paramedic, was a supervisor and instructor. So if you have any questions in regards to the AED, I can have him come up.
He's made a recommendation, right?
He was making the recommendation that we had 2 units, both for here at Town Hall and at the police station. These are both places where public assembles. I've said something to you before about this. I've seen it happen in the middle of the council meeting. Someone just dropped down and needing an AED. And because of the fact that if you call 911, there's a possibility it could take 45 minutes for them to get here.
I have a question. So, on the memo, there's 3 prices.
There are 3 prices that are on there from 3 different locations. The AED.com has the lowest price, and it's my understanding it's the same product. It's just at different locations it is a lesser price. So the lowest price ends up being, I believe, it's the 1,500.
36.
1,536.
I make a motion to purchase 2 AED.
Second.
Discussion.
As a comment?
Our goal is to have one of these in each patrol room. Our goal is to begin here and at the police station where we have foot traffic, people coming regularly. But the very next step in the process is we would like to have one of these in each unit. So anticipate that request. We'll have 7 patrol vehicles. We'll be looking to purchase 7 of these in addition to the 2 that you're considering.
Any more discussion? Not all in favor?
That was passed, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Item E, consider on first reading to adopt the 2023-2024 Town of Pacolet annual budget. We've had 2 workshops on this, a lot of questions, a lot of responses, but I believe this is what everyone wanted to have on there. Also wanted to let you all know, thank you. Also want to let you know that it is currently on the website for anyone to look at. And I've also uploaded the audit for the 2022 audit. Those are both under financial documents on the website.
I make a motion to approve first reading 2023-2024.
Second.
Seconds, any discussion? Not all in favor?
Does your copy involve and have my administrator's report in it? Administrator's report, you ready? The Pacolet community cleanup was held on Saturday, April 15th, with over 40 people in attendance. More than 1,300 pounds of trash was picked up. The fire department grilled burgers and hot dogs. Thank you to sponsors IGA, Keep One Sparkling Beautiful, The Clock, and the South Carolina Aquarium for their support for the event. The painting and gutter downspout work of the exterior of Town Hall has been completed. As mentioned before, please send me a list of locations where you'd like to see new streetlights. If there are existing streetlights in your area that are not on, if they're in the Duke Energy area, which is more the main Pacolet, newer Pacolet area. It's very easy, very user-friendly, and we believe we have a section on our website that shows you, as a resident, how to take care of that. With Lockhart Power, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's on there, and the contact information is on there. Currently scheduling kickoff events with ACOG and Benchmark for our COP and master plan. Provide details and your requested involvement later. And I put attached is the proposed schedule, and I did not attach it, but I'm going to email y'all, because I received today the ACOG proposal there, and Benchmark is currently putting theirs together as well, and I'll send that to you. Richie Harrison with Southern Engineering is currently working on a price for stormwater evaluation. I'm also looking at grants to cover this. This has nothing to do with any type of favoritism. But District 1 will be one of the highest priorities on here, just because of the fact that the old branch stormwater system, 100-year-old stormwater system, hasn't been addressed in many years. And so part of this is to map it all out, then do evaluation, and then create a priority list. The new phone system has been installed and operational at Town Hall and the PD. The electrical work needed to engage the upstairs units has been completed and the units are working. Thank you. Stephen Blake, the current auditor of the police department court items, encouraged us to update our accounting system and how we document the town's finances. This is a direct quote from him. Depending on how much assistance is available or needed to produce the general ledger accounting system would be approximately $800 to $1,500 to enter into the system. And do the conversions would be $2,200 to $5,000. So for $6,500, you would have a new accounting system on your fiscal year end by fund, department, and object code. There's an engagement letter. So when he was doing some work with the court system, he also came over to Town Hall, did an evaluation of our system, and there's some things that need to be updated from an accounting standpoint that need to be taken care of. He hit it off with us, with Ms. Kirby, and I would like for us to enter into the engagement letter addendum for him to do some additional work with us to better organize our financial information.
I make a motion to approve the engagement letter.
Second.
Do you want to amend the agenda for that?
Yeah. I make a
Okay.
motion to amend the agenda to approve the engagement letter.
Any discussion?
So, question. Is this the auditor that you had contacted back in October, was it? Or September?
Same guy doing the court system.
Okay. And you reached out to him?
No,
We did,
there you
I did.
Okay. That's all I had.
Any discussion? All in favor?
go. I make a motion to approve the engagement letter. Whatever services you feel necessary.
No discussion. No discussion, all in favor?
Moving on, there's one opening on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Planning Commission is completely filled. There will not be a meeting held this month, and emails have been sent out to let them know that. The committee for the 2023 Pacolet Riverfest met last month and reviewed upcoming plans. I say last month, but it was actually the previous month, now we're in June now. The group is currently selecting bands for the event. Vendors are sending us their request for more information, and we will send out vendor form this week. Mega Rock Challenge in the past did not charge for the event for their involvement. However, with low turnout last year, they will be charging, if we proceed with them, their cost is $5,000. We are currently looking at other options. Last year, Spartanburg County covered the cost for the portable toilets and hand wash stations. However, they are unable to cover that cost for this year. The assistant town clerk and I are looking at other options, and we'll be discussing those at the next committee meeting, which will be Monday, June 5th at 5:30. I encourage any of y'all who are interested in the Riverfest to please attend that meeting. The Municipal Association, let's see your question before. The Municipal Association's 2023 annual meeting is July 27th to the 30th at the Hyatt Regency Greenville. Number 13, we had a public comment earlier tonight. This is in regards to that. A new kayak rental business is opening up at the Pacolet River, on the Pacolet River in Clifton with 14 to 20 kayaks. They need bathrooms at the takeout location near the fishing piers. Until we can get something more permanent, Bragg Waste can provide a portable bathroom unit for May through August for $900. The business would split the cost with the town. As of right now, the fishing piers, there's no bathrooms down there. I think this is something that would benefit both the fishermen that are down there, as well as the swimmers, kayakers, and canoers. Plus, we can get this company is willing to pay for half the cost for us to do this during the summertime. I would like this to be amended and added to the agenda and then voted on if possible.
Make a motion that we modify or amend the agenda to add this item.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Make a motion that we approve the portable restrooms. We're paying half.
50% of the cost, yes.
I second.
Moving in second, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Also, I'm looking at a grant right now to add bathrooms. With this particular grant, we're gonna have to own the property. Currently, Pacolet Milliken owns the property. I've reached out to them, have not gotten a response back from them, but I'll continue to reach out. But for us to apply for this grant, lose a couple $100,000 so we can get matching money for, but to put a bathroom permanently down at that location. But I'll give you more information as I receive it. The nonprofit organization named the Pacolet Thread, that was my name. If you don't like it, we can change it. That was started last fall, has been approved by the IRS as an approved 501c3. I would like to request that all events are administered through the 501c3 organization with partnership from the town of Pacolet. With the IRS nonprofit status, donations to the event would be considered tax deductible for both state and federal. So I'm suggesting that all financial transactions are done through this organization. Financial reports and annual reports of the organization would be provided to council monthly. The board is currently made up of 5 seats that can be expanded as the need arises. The bylaws currently state that 2 of these seats for the Pacolet Town, 2 of these seats are for Pacolet Town Council members appointed by council. Anybody who's interested in being on that, please come. The 2 council members, I have placeholders right now, but at some point, I would need to get recommendations from council for 2 people to serve on that committee and help us administer events. But I need council to be okay with this organization being the fiscal agent for events and sponsorships and that sort of thing moving forward. You don't have to decide right now. We can talk about it later, but it's very beneficial for the town to have its own 501c3 to administer events and do other activities in the community. It can be expanded to a lot of things that are out there. Just so you know, when they were asking me about the application, when I was going through this, is we could do things like repairs to the buildings, historic buildings in the community. I had a consideration at some point to create a low-interest loan program for property owners in the town to be able to apply for funds, and it can be administered through this program as well, or this organization. But think about it. If you have any questions, let me know, and we can talk about it more. And we can talk more at another time. The organization could end up having its own insurance and could potentially end up applying for its own alcohol license, so it could end up running the Riverfest entirely on its own, of course, with the partnership of the town. But that's for y'all to determine if you'd like to move forward. The next item, the case involving the juvenile that vandalized the golf ring has concluded with the individual serving probation and will be responsible for paying $500 to the town for restitution. Since the individual is a juvenile, his legal guardians are additionally responsible for seeing that the $500 is paid to the town. On request from Mr. Wright, the sidewalk storm drain located at Sullivan Street in Council District 1 will be repaired where an AT&T truck had damaged it. The next scheduled meeting of the History Committee is scheduled for Thursday, June 8th at 5:15. And I don't think I need to go over with y'all all of the meetings that I've attended over the last 2 months. I did want to make sure that y'all are aware that the Benjamin E. Mays Family Resource Center recently hired a new executive director, Jerry Rice. I took him on a little bit of a tour, talking a little about things in the community. At some point, I would like to bring him to the council to present from Benjamin E. Mays Center, and also to answer any questions that y'all may have about the future of the center. Thank you.
Evening again, council. Past month, we have received 2 new single-family dwellings permitted by Enchanted Homes and provided comments and reviewed 2 accessory structures. Overall, a quiet month of activity. Still a difficult process to locate some of the property owners for code violations and issue summons. A few folks have reached out and asked for extensions, and others stated they're going to send individuals to clean up their properties. We performed electrical inspections for a renovation to a unit at Pacolet Apartments, and another home located what used to be the old red rear joint, which has been converted to a single-family dwelling without permits. And we have since been working with those guys to get them legal. As y'all well know, the bid was awarded to Spartan Electrical on repairs to the electrical at the city town hall, and that has been completed and inspected. And we also reported to a squatters living along Norwood Street near Janelle Alden with the police chief. At our arrival, the individual ran into the woods and we could not make contact. And they are living in that shed with a drop cord and a mattress.
Where is this?
It's on Norwood Street near the mail office.
It's over there,
New apartment complex that's right on that, it's on that main road, McDowell. So it's between McDowell and Norwood. There's a shed that's back there and someone's living in that shed. I think they have an extension cord that goes from the house out to the shed.
Any questions about the code program? Thank you.
Good evening, council. Good to see everybody. I apologize for my notes in the packet being kind of stacked improperly, but let's back up to my April notes. 64 calls for service, 56 traffic stops. Item number 2, we discussed that in depth in the budget in the past. We had an agreement on that, so I won't touch on that. I will be hosting a sled investigator soon who will be briefing me on the process of auditing the police department evidence reading and will be facilitating an assessment of what can be purged from our custody going forward. This will probably open our discussion for improvements that need to happen in the police department. I'm fully expecting them to advise me that our property evidence reading is insufficient, especially if we choose to seek accreditation in the future. So that would probably be where we begin that conversation with regards to the police department. We were granted a dozen commercial-grade personal flotation devices from the federal government for rescue operations in the Pacolet River, so we appreciate that from them. And as a notification, the grant I submitted to AAA in regards to getting traffic control devices to help us prevent pedestrian and other community events was denied. The verbiage in the denial, to me, it felt like they wanted to fund bigger projects, just just seem like they're a little too small for what their goal is, for what they do. That's just my impression of it. But that is not our only venue for that. We have multiple other venues that we're investigating as we speak. We spent a lot of time with that actually this afternoon. So we still have plenty of months before Riverfest to be able to get that taken care of and handle the traffic flow, pedestrians, and all the things that we need. Going into the month of May, we've had 89 calls for service, 58 traffic stops, 14 reports. These are not accurate numbers. We are not getting numbers from Spartanburg County anymore. Anytime we don't have a officer on duty that a deputy responds to because of the ransomware attack, they had shut down their entire computer system. Before, I got a report every single morning at 8 a.m. of everything that happened over the previous 24 hours. That hasn't happened since the ransomware attack began. They are working with a vendor to repair that and do that in a different way, so that we'll have that information going forward. But from Pacolet police officers, and if you remember the numbers I gave you at our January 2nd, 3rd, 4th meeting for the previous year, this is a much higher call volume than we've really ever had. That's not even including the calls that sheriff's deputies have answered. So call volume has increased significantly. Report volume has increased significantly. And we also, jumping down this here, we're getting lots and lots of animal control calls. That's something I'm discussing with Mr. Cage, trying to come up with a plan for that going in the future. But there are days when there are double-digit animal control calls, which for a town this size is kind of surprising to me. So that may be something that we have to address in the future. On May 14th, Montgomery Memorial Methodist Church was burglarized and set on fire in an arson incident. My investigation resulted in the identification and arrest of the subject responsible, who made full confessions to the crime. I attended the defense bond hearing and was able to convince the court to deny them bond, so they should be in jail until the trial for this crime. And I would not expect that to go to trial for at least 2 years. He's looking at, I don't know what his previous offenses will tag on, but we're looking at probably 25 years. We already had a full confession. Because it's a church, I think our sisters also take it very seriously. So I anticipate this person to longer be a part of our community going forward. I made several statements for public release throughout the news media and have had stories covered by Postal Courier and WYFF. The story on WSPA to be filmed tomorrow and probably here tomorrow night, I'm assuming. A certified Class 1 officer has accepted an offer letter of employment and will begin service with the police department on June 12th. The Spartanburg County Library in Pacolet has inquired about hosting a coffee with a cop event that they're currently in the planning stages for. And I hosted the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy evaluators on May 9th who audited the police department's policy and procedure manual that I created whenever I was appointed to the post. And on May 15th, I received a letter of certification advising that the department had passed the audit. So that was a lot of work, pretty quickly. They turned it around pretty quickly. But any questions I've answered for you? Thank you guys for your support.
And just if you're keep the score on here, 1 chief, 2 Class 1 officers, and 2 in training. We only have 1 position available right now. Good.
At this time, we have comments from our council. Well, I just like to remind everybody about the B.E. Mason, another administrative meeting earlier. But we are giving the record for the citizens, so we're asking everybody to come out to downtown on Sunday at 4 o'clock. They did Mr. Rice. I think we did SS lot.
I second.
Okay.